Today I'm going to be making easy chocolate mousse, and what we need is 1 cup of heavy cream, that's 35% cream, also called whipping cream. You need 4 ounces of chocolate chips. I'm using Hershey semi-sweet chocolate, and also 2 tablespoons of butter, and that's all we need for this easy chocolate mousse. So let's get started. Alright, our first step is to melt the chocolate. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a regular bowl like this, and we're going to melt our chocolate. So I'm going to pour the chocolate in there. That's our 4 ounces of chocolate. So what we're going to do is we're going to gently melt the chocolate in a double boiler over at the stove. So let's go over and get that started. Alright, so here's our next step. This is really easy. What you want to do is get some water hot, but you don't want to have it actually boiling. You can see the steam there. You don't want that steam getting into your chocolate because that can seize your chocolate. So what I've done at this point, I've turned everything off, and I'm just going to take the bowl and I'm going to get it on there. You don't want to have boiling water. That's just a rule. So what we're going to do is we're just going to let the chocolate gently melt, and we're going to just stir it around and help it melt, and we'll get that done now. And about a minute later, we can see the chocolate is starting to melt really nicely. Let's just let this go. We're almost done here, and I'd say right now we're already done. So now at this point right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 2 tablespoons of butter and just pop that in, and we'll just let that melt into there, and I'll be back. We can see the butter now melting away very nicely. As you do this process, you can keep your stove element very low, just so that you have a very low heat heating the chocolate. You know, maybe set your element to 2 or 3. You don't want it boiling, but you want to keep the water hot. And there we go. We can see already everything's well incorporated. So the next step right now is to let this chocolate cool, because we're going to be mixing this in, folding it into the whipped cream, and we don't want to have too much hot and too much cold combining. So at this point now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this off of the pot, and I'm going to let the chocolate cool down quite a bit before we incorporate it into our cream. So our next step is to grab our cup of heavy whipping cream, and we're going to get that into the bowl, and we're going to whip this up. You have 2 choices here. You can use an electric blender, or what you can do is you can grab a whisk and whisk like crazy, depending on how much work you want to actually do today. So I'm going to get my little mixer ready, and I'll be back. I want to start mixing this up. You can see that we're already starting to get a little bit of volume here. So I'm going to continue doing this, and I'll be back. So at this point, my whipping cream is all nicely whipped, and we're ready to take this and fold this into our chocolate. So what I'm going to do here is I've got my chocolate here, and it's cooled down quite a bit. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to just grab a little bit of your whipped cream and get it in there. And the first bit, you don't have to really be very careful with it. Just mix it around. If your chocolate is warmer, this is what they call tempering. So what it does is it kind of equalizes the temperature. You can see now it's getting to be a really nice consistency. You can already see that the chocolate is getting fluffy. Now, I call this an easy chocolate mousse. Some recipes require eggs that you don't separate. Some recipes require only the whites. Some recipes only require the yolks. And some recipes require the whole egg. But I'm not using any egg here. So that's why I'm calling this easy. So there we go. We've incorporated that pretty well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit more, and I'm going to use my large spatula now, and I'm going to start folding that in slowly. So just gently fold it in. You don't really want to mix it. You want to keep the air from the whipped cream. And now I'm going to add a little bit more. And just gently fold it in. And at this point, so you can see a little bit better, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move everything over to this bowl here. So I'm going to take all of the mixture that we've just folded, and I'm going to move it into this bowl here. So there we go. And I'm just going to fold the rest of the whipped cream in. Now I've made a very small recipe here, but you could double this or triple it if you have quite a few people coming over. It doesn't matter if it's 100%, mixed. Some people like seeing the little bitties of cream in there. But there we go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to leave it like this. I'm going to put it in the fridge and let it set. So by putting it in the fridge, what's going to happen is the chocolate is actually what's going to firm this whole mousse up. Okay, so the chocolate is the magic portion in it being firm. So what we can do with this, what can you do with this? Well, you can firm it up and you can actually put it into chocolate cakes. You could put it into any kind of cake you want as a filling. That's what we used to do when I went to pastry school. So what else you can do with this is you can take it and you can scoop it into little bowls and use it as a dessert. So anyway, that's what we're going to try later on. So I'm going to put this away right now and let it firm up. And it's about 2 hours later now. So I've got my ice cream scoop and our mousse is nice and firmed up. So let's take a little scoop and see how it scoops. You can see it looks like it has a texture of ice cream. Look at that. Can you see that? I don't know if the camera can pick that up, but it looks just like ice cream. And let's just pop it in here. Let's do another one. And there we go. And you can see how beautiful that is. And that is easy chocolate mousse. And that's how easy it is. That's it for now. I'll see you next time.